All right, third time lucky. Good morning, everybody. So sorry about that. Usually I've got the problem where my mic is always muted rather than unmuted. So anyway, thank you all for joining us this morning. Today, we're going to be talking about creating environments for intelligent automation. Now, I can see there's quite a few of you online here from varying organizations, government departments, and a few people from across the other parts of the world as well. So thank you everyone for joining us, especially those who have stayed up late and those who have joined us early in the morning. Now, today it's not just going to be myself. I do have a couple of other wonderful people joining me in this presentation and discussion today. So I have Josephine Calabria, who is our own Chief Operating Officer here at Delve. We've brought her along because, well, she's really started our automation practice here in Delve, but she also, because she runs our operations, really is entrenched in what automation can mean and what it means for our organization, but also shares what we can do for other clients as well. Also joining me today, I have Colin from Microsoft. Now, Colin is the Federal Director down there in Canberra, in our nation's capital, for those who are joining overseas. He's also the ACT leader down there. So working for Microsoft, helping organizations, government organizations and departments, but also organizations in Canberra to make the most of technology. And then obviously you got myself here. So I'm Barrett Munce. I'm the Chief Digital Officer here at Delve. I have the pleasure of running these webinars and running a bit of products and marketing into my team as well. But before we get into it anymore, I just want to quickly go through some housekeeping. There are Uber Eats vouchers. You were promised them in the invitation. Hopefully that's not the only reason you came today, but they will be with you very shortly in your email. So if you need to grab a coffee, maybe a breakfast or something like that, feel free to use those, but they will be in your email very shortly. If they're not there by the end of this webinar, please check your spam, make sure it hasn't gone in there, but they will be there. Please use it. Coffee's on me. Hopefully you guys will come up with some questions as we go through this presentation today, this discussion as well, maybe around some of the content we're showing, maybe around some of the content we haven't shown as well. Please feel free to ask questions, drop them in the Q&A box at any time. If you don't want them tagged to you or your organization, feel free to put them in as anonymous as well. Now, and also just a reminder, this webinar is also being recorded, so you can watch it again later if you need to drop off. Hopefully you can stay the whole time, but if you need to come back to it later, it will be there. You can also review it later if you find that I'm speaking way too fast because of all the coffee I've had personally this morning. So it will be recorded and you'll get a link straight after, or pretty much straight after this session as well. So today, what we're going through, we really are going through about creating environments, and it's creating environments for automation. And what we want to do is we're not going to go through a deep technical dive or anything like that. That is something we'd love to do with you at a later stage. But what we want to do is, I guess, reframe things, provide a bit of perspective from what we see as Delve, what we see in the market, what our engagements have informed us and led us to come to some pretty solid thinking and methodologies as well around automation. Provide some insights into automation. I think we'll just do a bit of a recap because I can see that we have some people are new to automation here. I know I had conversations with some of you and we're really just scratching the surface, and some that have been part of intelligent automation for quite some time. But we're going to go through insights from our perspective and around how we approach things and share that with you as well. We're also going to give you some concepts to consider. Just really to get you thinking a bit differently about automation, and hopefully you'll see why we want you to start thinking a little bit differently about automation and how you can approach it as well. And then also we're going to have a chat around the potential. And throughout this session, I will be bringing in Colin and Josephine as well, provide their perspective, insights, and engagement as well. But as I said, if you think anything pops to mind, whether we've answered it or you think we've answered but not quite sure of it, or if we've missed it all completely or nothing, it's not just gelling, drop us a question in the Q&A section as well. So let's get started. So first of all, perspective on technology. So this is a great quote and I love it. It's actually from a book, What Technology Wants. And what it really is, I think it captures it quite well, is that we are co-evolving with our technology. You know, whether it be the first piece of technology we created, whether it be a stick we used to hunt or dig a hole in the ground, or even the more advanced technologies that we have today as well. We are co-evolving with the technology, becoming very dependent on it, but also the technology is dependent on us as well. And it's something that we're kind of symbiotic with. And what that means is that I think our approach to technology now, when it started, we was very much a tool. But now, because we're moved into a more symbiotic relationship with technology, it doesn't matter what it is. It's very much, it needs us as much as we need them. We need to work out what's our relationship with technology moving forward, and how do we engage with that, and how do we design and build and deploy it in our organizations for our customers, our clients, or even our constituents as well, as to what does that mean? How do we use technology in a symbiotic way with our people, with ourselves, and as an organization to actually make something better? And we think about it this way because technology, it's been great. But unfortunately, we're kind of this questioning stage at the moment. I know that we do this quite a lot when we look at a lot of our clients, we engage with our clients, and we go through a bit of history of, that they've been using different technologies, whether they're PCs or, the mobility first or whatever it is, that they've had technology embedded in their organization for quite some time. And look, technology's been great. It's been that enabler of productivity. For a while, the more technology you threw at a problem or an organization or a person, our productivity increased. As soon as we could start digging holes with more than our hands, we could dig more holes faster and get more rewards for that. As soon as we could start hunting with more than our own legs and hands, we use spears and whatnot, our productivity increased. When we started farming and, rolling. And more so as we got now into the more modern time, automation in industry lines and, using things like the computers, phones, our productivity has increased. But we kind of have reached, and I think most of us on here would feel that we've kind of reached a bit of a point where the more technology we're thrown at it, or we've been thrown at, is actually dropping our productivity down. We're finding that there's too much technology. It's really throwing us that there's more and more things to do. There's more and more technology to adapt to work with. We've become the slave to the technology. And our productivity as a byproduct has actually dropped down significantly. And what do I mean by that? I mean, well, you, I'm sure, have experienced this, your staff, your work, is that, overloaded staff. I mean, that image at the top there, it says it all. That inbox, fortunately, isn't a photo of mine, but it's a reality is that email, when it first came out, was this amazing technology. We could communicate with anyone, just get our thoughts out and send it across the world. Great. But then all we're doing is passing, that was great, but then we're creating mountains of email. We've got other channels that are doing the same thing. We've created inefficiencies because by speeding up certain areas, we're actually slowing down other areas when it comes to the human having to do something. And a human is terrible at reading through 6,000 emails, but 6,000 people are great at sending an email all at once. Then we've got the manual repetition where we're terrible at this, but we've found more and more, going through, clicking the delete button in an email, going through and, looking at a piece of paper, scanning a document, things like that. Manual repetition has actually slowed us down, but technology has forced us to do this manual repetition. And this manual repetition and this slowdown has also made us become more prone to errors in our work. How many times, I know myself, we do something, I've got to check my work, and you've got to recheck your work, not because you're not good at it or you're not experienced with it, but because you're just so rushed or you're so inundated with what's happening that we end up having to rework it. And also a big part is because we've got so many humans doing so many things with different technologies, we actually stuck in disparate data as well, which is no good for anyone, especially businesses when you're actually trying to make decisions. And then ultimately, what we're finding is most businesses, the more they're investing in certain technologies, just technology for technology's sake, they're actually seeing that profits are declining because the outputs aren't there. They're spending more on technology, but the humans are providing less output. It doesn't seem to add up to the models that they put forward. But it's not all doom and gloom. And I think we're kind of reaching this point at the moment where we're starting to realize, we're starting to engage and work with technology as a genuine partner. We're starting to see that choosing the right technology, we can actually increase our productivity. Think of technology as our genuine partner. Don't think of it as don't become a slave to it. Change our mindset around how we use technology and what type of technologies we can do, and find that technological niche that enables us to become more. And what we found and what we work with is that, intelligent automation is that partner. Intelligence is that partner that really enables people to become better, to go back to that model where technology was helping us be more efficient. Intelligent automation is that partner that's going to help us as people focus on the things that we're good at. And our model and our methodology for looking at this is similar to this. And if you have a look here on the screen here, there's an image of a person or an icon of a person. And if you think about this, could be any person in any organization, yourself included. And when we bring someone on board, for the work. And most people, what they do, these are the type of things that they would do in their work day and their personal life as well, is that, we bring them on because humans are great at creativity. We bring them on for their human interaction skills, our ability to communicate, our ability to solve problems as they appear or as they come up on the horizon as well. A little bit of reporting and admin and repetition work, right? That's kind of the stuff we do as humans in our job. And I'm being very high level and general here, but I think if you can condense your day down, you'll be doing a mixture of these things. And I think if we put a value in it, the organizations you work for, the people you employ as well, the higher value tasks are these ones at the top, the creativity. This is what we employ them for. I don't employ someone because of their ability to send an email. I might get them for their ability to create an email and the content that goes in it, but certainly not pressing send. I don't employ anyone who can do repetitive paper shuffling or these repetitive tasks. I employ them for the way that they can go and speak to someone to solve a problem, how they can see something come up on the horizon, work out what changes and come up with a creative solution to do that. Not for them providing me a report on what happened last week. They're the type of things that we employ, and that's the high value tasks. But what we find, and I'm sure it's the most time in organizations that people spend is down the bottom. They spend more time doing the low value tasks, the things that quite frankly humans aren't great at. We're not great at repetitive tasks, admin, reporting. Even if you're in an admin role, your key tasks aren't admin. That's a byproduct of your creativity, your problem solving, your human interaction. What we find is that people, though, are spending so much time down this area that they're becoming inundated, overwhelmed, unable to actually do anything that's the high value tasks. And the problem that we've found is that historically we keep throwing more technology, saying, okay, well, let's throw another piece of technology, let's throw another piece of software, let's do this. And we're not solving the problem. We're just trying to band-aid problems with technology and shifting the problem from a slowdown area, an area where we can speed up and then slowing it down at the human as well. So the human ends up carrying everything. And that's where we really see automation from our perspective and from Delphin, the way we operate, is that automation has been that genuine partner for humans, being the workplace companion, the workplace co-worker, and also for your organizations as well. And what we find is that when we actually add automation, and we say, you know what, this is the idea of automation here isn't to replace you as an employee. It's actually meant to take all the stuff that we're not good at doing as humans. We're going to take all that away from you. We're going to give it to something or someone that is better at it. And that someone is your automation, your digital worker, your bot in some instances as well, because they are great at doing the reporting, the admin, the repetitive tasks, and they are great at working hand in hand with humans to actually make them more efficient. And so what you'll see is that by doing this model, when we work through this, is that applying automation as a partner in an organization to your employees is that we can flip that pyramid and flip it around so that they can spend more time on those high value tasks. The reason we employ them, the reason that they're here, and the thing that they get job satisfaction out of, to then also provide more to the organization and also their customers. But also we give satisfaction in a way to these bots, which sounds crazy, but this is what they're really good at. They love doing that. We build them out and we work them this way as well. So intelligent automation is genuinely what we see as the partner in enabling businesses, and imperative to pretty much everyone or every organization that comes around. And we've seen it quite recently. So that's a very high level around our perspective of automation. It's there as a partner. It's there as, there are many types of automation, but we're looking at it as how do we use intelligent automation or IA as a partner to help employees, help your staff be better at their job, but also help engage with customers and the environments as well. But what I'd like to do now is to bring on Colin for a quick chat around some of the signs of success he has seen in industry, in market, some of the conversations you're having. I know Microsoft is a big player in the automation space as well. But I think this statement says is that this statement here is that automation will achieve near universal adoption in the next 5 years, is that people have identified and business have identified that, you know what, we need this, and there's genuine path ahead that universally every organization, every person would expect to have automation in the way they operate. And we see that, and sorry, Colin, I know you just turned your camera on, and I just want to quickly cover is that we saw that with other technologies. Mobile phones became universally adopted. It seems a long time ago now, but they really have become universally adopted. It is a nature, it's something that's symbiotic with us. And we're heading towards, within the next 5 years, that automation is going to be very similar. But Colin, I'll get you to come off mute there, mate. Maybe you could share with us some of the things you're seeing in your space. You've got a very unique or privileged lens there by working with our federal government, who are very process driven, and I guess would see a lot of opportunity for automation.
Yeah, morning, Barrett, and morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for everyone who's joined on the webinar this morning. Barrett, it's an interesting one in the fact that automation means different things to different organisations and different people, as you've kind of outlined. And I think one of the areas where we're seeing real sort of momentum and adoption is automation, not for the sake of automation or process reengineering in the way that you were describing earlier, but more those little personalisation things. So where automation provides some form of personalised improvement to a worker, an organisation, in terms of how they go about even the way that we automate with our customers. So, we're all very time poor, and we know examples of customer service where the longer you can engage with an automated process before you have to jump on a telephone call or be online and get some of those personalised details out of the way first and have that sense of individual service, we're seeing some real advantage to that. I think the other area is that from an IT perspective, we spend a lot of time really diving into these big transformational programs. We're going to automate this, we're upgrading this particular system or business application or process. Yet it's some of these really simple, low code, almost no code type of processes, whether it be the way we collaborate, the way we move information and approval rounds with simple workflows and so forth. It's taking the manual elements out that don't add value to an individual's day and give more time to have information delivered, information moved around in a way that enables us to make human decisions rather than those sort of simple process or task-oriented ones. So there are a couple of areas, I guess, where we're really seeing organisations utilising their own talent and skills rather than engaging and having a more broad discussion about, we want to automate a major program. It's getting those particular things and going, here's where our innovation's coming from, here's where our ideas are coming from, and automation of those simpler things is really making some benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we see the same a lot. Also, is that making it simple, making it easy to reach, and fixing up the things that are just those niggling things for people, and where can actually have the biggest impact. Sometimes bigger impacts than huge transformation. Fix the simple things. Like I'd love it if someone just do all my expenses for me, especially if I had an automation bot that could do that. But that would just save me so much time, and obviously the business money. But I think you're spot on there. In your market that you work with, there's obviously it's a slower, I shouldn't say it's a slower rollout, but there's more thought put into it, and with rollouts and whatnot. Are you seeing a trend upticking of this, of that people starting to say, you know what, let's jump on this, let's get going?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, as we think about the delivery of service from a government perspective, we take the traditional service industries that I think we all come to operate in, whether it's our banks or our retail's environments, our insurers, etc. We're used to a level of automation that maybe government has not necessarily adopted in a way or in a speed that I think we see from others. I think we're still learning to trust government systems and government automation, and that creates a sense of anxiety and nervousness in terms of progression and speed. And the other area that really slows down the adoption of automation is an understanding of the balance between a governance environment that manages the collaboration, the automation, the new business process, what we might have called shadow IT in a previous world, and a sense of innovation and progression and so forth. So being able to loosen the IT governance stream, if you want to use that term, to really allow organisations to drive their own innovation, but at the same time putting the right framework and guards around it that allows that automation to still meet our corporate requirements and regulatory requirements and so forth. I think that's the balance that we're seeing government really starting to land on now.
Absolutely. And I think actually something you called out there was the whole idea of shadow IT as well. I think it's been a term for quite a while, but things like this, the automation, by embracing it and actually setting up, it can actually help reduce that shadow IT. Because I mean, most shadow IT comes about because people are just trying to get their job done. They're trying to find efficiencies in the way of working, and the adoption of automation can certainly help a lot with that. So, thanks for that, Colin. I'll get you to come back on a little bit later if you can hang around. So we've got I'm sure we'll have some questions for you, but also I'll come back with a wider chat. So I think that's where we're seeing quite a lot of that. We've seen some signs of success, and as Colin said, he's in the markets he's working with and the type of clients, and even Microsoft themselves with some of the announcements they've made around automation. It really points towards that automation is now more than what it has been before. People are seeing a reality that this can have an impact, and it's actually a tangible future as well. But more interestingly, what we've seen is that over the last year, automation has just accelerated. Now, digital's accelerated everywhere, right? I'm sure you've all seen those memes. What was your trigger of digital transformation, pandemic, etc. And it's true. Most digital transformations have accelerated in the last 12 months, not because some people have suddenly got budget, but really because they've seen a need. Our whole way of working, our whole way of living, our whole way of engaging with people has completely changed. And automation has really been one of those ones that has been picked up and has helped that acceleration without a doubt. What we actually found, and this quote came out from Eric from the Stanford Institute of Human-Centered AI. This was within the first few months of COVID, when the US went into their sort of lockdown, so to speak, is that in the first 20 weeks, they saw more changes in the way they work than in the past 20 years. And that's not just, hey, everyone's working from home. It's actually people adopting new technologies rapidly, grabbing onto ways of working and engaging and saying, well, that doesn't work anymore because I'm not in the office, or that doesn't work anymore because I can't fly and be there, or that doesn't work anymore because I've lost contact with my whole offshore team. And I think that's where a lot of this is going, is that people have actually accelerated these parts and said, you know what, well, what can fill it in? How can we do this? And these businesses who at one stage historically had played around with the idea of automation around testing out things like RPA and intelligent automation and bots like that, actually started to succeed. And from that, what we've seen is that, the future of work isn't just intelligent automation, but the future of work is enabled by intelligent automation as well. The future of where we work in there as well. So most organizations are looking at reevaluating their approach to integrating automation as well. And most organizations we speak to now, since the pandemic hit, they were kind of kicking the ball around. Yeah, maybe it was a thing they read a white paper on a few years ago, but now since the pandemic, they're really accelerating this whole human and machine workforce, seeing that, I can get more out of my people by helping them with digital tools that act like them. Not just software, but digital workers that actually act like them and do the tasks that they can't get around to doing at the moment because of, we don't have enough staff, or we're offloading, or are growing in different areas. And what we've seen, especially in the last 3 months, is pretty much half of global businesses have increased their spend in automation as well. So I think in a time where global economies are kind of rocky, that we're seeing that most businesses have gone, you know what, this is a future investment that is going to pay off. We know it pays off instantly because you can see pretty quick returns, but also we know that in the long run, this is going to help us be successful. We can do more with less. But interestingly as well, is that a lot of them are looking at not just, pretty much all of them, none of it's an employment or human replacement strategy. It's a human augmentation strategy, because they realize that they need their people more than ever. As soon as the office is shut down, people are needed. They still needed them to do their things. What they did realize, though, is that we need to enable our people better with the right tools and the right augmentations to enable them as well. And what we found, and some of the stats that have come out recently, is whilst there are a lot of businesses that did start to slow down and unfortunately shut down all completely, those that thrive, 3 out of 5 of those businesses that actually thrived and actually accelerated their growth during pandemic actually deployed automation rapidly to fill the gaps and adapt as well. These businesses that grab these tools, they say, well, I suddenly need all these additional workers because my business has moved digital. Or I have a staff of a few hundred and I need to be a few thousand because the way we engage with customers has now become all digital. those customers who deployed it rapidly, now they may not be perfect deployments, and like nothing was perfect last year as far as most deployments go, but at least they put it in there. And those businesses who actually adopted it found that they thrived by utilizing automation to actually help them get there as well with minimal investments. But saying that, it's not all rosy. I think we can say is that a lot of automation on the long term, there still is a failure to launch. And I think this is what's holding back a lot of organizations in deploying automation in their department. This stats is it's up to 50%. It's between 40 and 50%, depending on what you look at, of automation deployments don't move beyond a POC or pilot or are considered failed projects. And it's not from a lack of the business wanting to adopt it potentially. It's more of the approach to it. And this is actually became more visible during the pandemic as some of these businesses said, let's automate. They actually got some things going, but now they're starting to wind them down because, you know what, it wasn't sustainable because of the approach was wrong. Now, the reason for a lot of these failures is that there is genuinely a lack of governance a lot of the time with automation projects. And what I mean by that is, the governance maybe isn't the right governance on it. There's the lack of actual governance, or it's not the right type of governance. Our approach to it is wrong. And also sometimes the candidates are wrong for automation as well. We've worked with quite a number of clients who have kicked the tires on automation and they've actually tried to automate the wrong things or things that aren't going to have the right outcomes or values where they can produce it. So it was great for a POC or a pilot and say, yeah, I did it here, but it wasn't going to be used by anyone because the business had moved on. So it needed to be retooled. A lot of automation we find fails because there's actually no management. There's this almost a sense of set and forget sometimes where, oh yeah, I'll just build it and away we go, build, go. No one's managing this bot or this automation to actually say, is this working? Is it doing what we expect it to do? And also, is it behaving the way we expect it to as well? Majority of them actually fail to scale. So they work in a small isolated area because they've been very much held together almost with sticky tape. But as soon as you want to bump it up or you want to roll it out across the country in multiple areas, the scale isn't there. You've got to start duplicating things in very expensive ways, or the processes from one area doesn't match the other area as well. We find that also sometimes there are third-party problems, and that could just be integrations, apps, systems, and things like that. Things that maybe, oh, well, we thought they'd work together, but they don't, or we forgot about certain elements as well. So things that aren't really within your automation control, but really should be considered as well. And this is where we actually get to the more interesting ones, I think, where we see a lot of the failures come from, because I think the other ones you can address by putting a different, by just going through them each one. But when we look at these last two, process and software mindset and the wrong environment, this is where we find a lot of problems occur, is that, yes, automation is a piece of software, it's a tool, and it's all about process and whatnot as well. But that may be, from what we've seen from our perspective and the way we engage, may not be the right mindset for deploying and launching true automation. And then also, the other one is that most of the time the environment is wrong. And when I say the environment, I'm not just talking about a host, the system it runs on. I'm talking about the actual organization, the environment and the systems that it has to run on. And so the way we approach around establishing intelligent automation is by looking at it a little bit differently. We have a little bit of a different lens review on this. And what we see is that by treating automation more like human than software, your adoption goes through the roof. Your ability to deploy goes through the roof. Your success factors go much higher. And the reason we say that is because automation is there to augment and work with us as humans, to do the things we're not good at, but the things we used to do, the things that that we take off. So by treating it more like a human and the way a human would work and the needs of a human to an extent, we find that the software, we find that the automations work better. They're adopted more. We also look at automation as an enabler of holistic transformation as well, rather than just task discrete automation. Now, I know earlier we were just Colin and I were just chatting about having those discrete tasks, but they are part of a wider picture as well. So holistic transformation is you don't just have someone going on to the side building little bots for themselves and saying we've done that and it has no impact. It's going to be part of a holistic transformation, but you can do the little bits first as well. Investing in program management and oversight for the program is obviously important as well. But the way you invest in the management should be slightly different. And if we're treating our bots like humans or our automations like humans, we probably should manage them in the same way. How would you manage a staff member who's come on board? How would you manage someone who needs performance? How do you make sure that they're actually doing their job correct way? And how would you train them? And I think we need to be looking at how are we doing this the right way for the automations as well. And I think part of that as well is, whilst we're doing this, take the opportunity, don't just copy and paste the way our process is done today, because that's where a lot of failures come from. It's a good way to quickly get things moving, but it's not a good way for long-term automation success and set up the environment as well. Design what's possible with these new tools and technologies as well. Don't copy and paste a process just because it's been there before. Use it as a guide, but don't use this as the element there. And I think the last one is create an environment for automation. Now, creating an environment for automation, as I said before, is more than just what is the automation going to run on, what's it going to run in. It's actually setting up a business mindset, your employees' mindset, to be ready for automation and what it all means. And what do we mean by that? Well, let's dive into a bit more human than software element for a moment, just to frame it up and get you thinking. If you think about your employees, your humans who work for you as well, when you have someone on board, doesn't matter what their role is, you're going to need to train them, right? Very nature with the automations, you're going to need to train them as well. I think that's pretty established. We train them, we walk them through a process, we design it out for them, build them. We train them, we show them how to do their job. Provide support. So when a new employee comes on board, we actually provide support to them to say, that's actually, if they need help, if things aren't working the right way, we're keeping an eye on to help them and point them in the right direction. We might say, that information I gave you before, it may not be 100% correct, or it may not actually work in this scenario. So my support is to help redesign the way you work so you can be best at your job. And we do that with humans, right? Monitoring, KPI reporting, we see how our staff are going. We don't just employ a person and just say, good luck, here's the job, and we never hear from them again. We never check if they're doing well, what they can improve. Every employee who we have, every human employee we have has a manager or a leader that they report to, helps guide them as well. And we also provide security as well to the human, whether it be on their systems that they access, the physical environments they work with, and access controls as well. And we also provide our humans with tools. We review their work, but we also monitor their well-being as well. Are they enriched, or are they being fulfilled with their job? Are they actually getting everything they need? And also, how are we making our human employees grow? Is there opportunity for growth, for them to do more, to provide more value to our company and our customers and themselves as well? And funnily enough, there's not a lot of difference from our perspective around when you're looking at using automations in the same way, in that the same things that you look at for a human when building this up, we really should be looking at for your automations. We need to provide them the training. We need to provide them the support, the monitoring KPI. When we run automations in our environment, do we just set and forget, or do we check in on them and get reports to say, they did a really good job today, or they were sitting there doing nothing today, so why have we got them sitting here taking up valuable virtual office space? Automations need managers and leaders. They need managers to help them find the right tasks to do, make sure they're doing the best they can be, and also lead them in the right directions where they are needed within the organization. We need to provide our automations with proper security. Now, I know security is very inherent with software and the way we operate, but we need to be treating security more like a human when it comes to automation as well, because automations are just as susceptible to the same human security flaws that we have in businesses today, phishing attacks and whatnot. An automation, if it's been instructed to work a certain way and it's got some phishing vulnerability, then it's going to just keep doing its job, just like an employee who hasn't been trained on phishing might be susceptible to that as well. We need to provide the right tools, obviously, to the automation. We can't just say, hey, you're an automation, you should know what to do. We need to provide the right tools and make sure that we're ingrained and embedded the right tools for that to do its job. We need to continuously review the way it's operating. We're getting the most out of it. We're performing as needed. And well-being, whilst I do put this in here as a tongue-in-cheek, the well-being here is that actually, is our bot performing? Is it is it having mistakes? Is it slowing down? We're getting the most out of it, because a lot of failed automations is deploy, set and forget, and then no one reviews it. No one says, well, can we make this better? Or is this bot performing as we expected or what we want? So well-being is genuinely, whilst tongue-in-cheek here, is actually something to consider in the automations, and that's set in the environment as well. And then the last one should always be there is growth. When we deploy an automation, there's always opportunity for growth, because I think as more and more businesses roll this out in their environments, there's an opportunity for them to grow how they operate, what they operate, and what the automation actually does. Very rarely does a successful automation deployment stay as is from day one through to day 365. It changes as it goes along through that review process, through that monitoring, the KPIs in the reporting, and also by the manager or leaders in engagement, just like it would with any staff member you have. So, and when thinking about environments for intelligent automation, if we look at the physical environment for us as well, so our business, setting up businesses for intelligent automation, we think these are imperative to actually getting this there, to getting this happening. Establishing a business narrative around automation. I think it's very important there's a lot of fear and I think in industry, in organizations, and even in the public around automation, bots, AI taking people's jobs. And absolutely, there is a potential for that in some areas. But I think in most businesses, the idea and the narrative that should be pushed out and discussed and really explored, both with staff, is that these automations are actually digital workers. They're teammates that have been brought on that just happen to live in a digital realm rather than being living, breathing organisms like us. Setting up a mindset of automation there enables people to start thinking about automation differently with organizations across the business, not just what it as a piece of software do, but what could I do if I have almost the potential of an automation that operates like a human, does the stuff that I do but not very good at. What's the potential and what else can I get them to do? And also, what can I then do if I can free up this time? What can I be better at in my role in that creativity or communication and engagement space, so that problem solving or finding new opportunities for the organization as well. So setting that mindset, setting the business environment to really be ready for that as well. And it helps encourage those ideas and explore more. But I think the other thing that we're doing, what we encourage with a lot of organizations, and certainly rolling it ourselves, is that everyone within the organization becomes a manager of a digital worker. It provides them more leadership opportunities. And I know it sounds a bit strange, I'm leading a software bot, but in reality, you are looking out for the same things. You are looking out for, is this a bot or automation doing what it's meant to be doing? Is it helping me with my jobs and my tasks as its leader or manager? Am I looking for opportunities for improvement as well? But also, when they start attaching a bit of ownership to these things, they look for and making sure that they're getting the most out of it as a piece, and a bit of a connection to it as well. And what we find is when people are actually adopting it, they're finding more ideas, more opportunities, and the ability to scale up a team happens so much quicker. And I'm not saying that they should be doing automations instead of physical humans, because there are just things that automations can't do, and things that we wouldn't want automations to do. But there are just things also that we don't really want to employ someone to sit there clicking OK 500 times in a day, where we could have an automation doing that for us and much more efficiently as well. And I think the last one is have a mindset where the business thinks of them. Doesn't matter who across the business, whether it's from IT, HR, the C-level, what it is that treat them as remote workers, not bots. Treat them as if they were remote work. Engage with them, check that everything's functioning that right. Have we got the right tools set up for them, the environments, the set of security and whatnot as well. So that's kind of setting up the mindset or the environment of the business for it. That's part of the equation. I think the other part of the equation is that when we actually set that up, we actually need to build them a proper office. Now, I'm not talking a bricks and mortar office. I'm talking a digital virtual office for these automations to run in. And it's a pretty cool concept. It's something that I'm very excited about. And I think it goes back to when I was a kid playing, most likely none of you will know this because you're probably too young, but I was playing a game on the Commodore 64 called Little Computer People. And there used to be little people who ran around in there, kind of like a Sims. And those people would do little tasks for you. And I kind of envisage it like this, is that we're kind of moving to this where we actually have this hybrid workplace where if we're creating these digital workers who are creating tasks, they have personas and work the way that we work, but just in ones and zeros rather than flesh and bone. It's a pretty cool opportunity to think about, well, if that's what we're going to build, if we're going to have digital employees working in a digital office, what does it actually look like and what do they need? And I think if we look at our humans, we can just do the same thing as what we do with humans. They need a space to work, right? Where are our digital employees going to operate from? We know that our human employees either work from an office, they work from home or cafes or wherever it is. They've got a place, a destination to work from, a place that they can unpack everything, pull out their laptop, desktop, start working and engaging as they need to as well. They've also got the tools that they need to perform their tasks, their computers, the software connectivity and whatnot as well. But we also make sure that wherever they're working, their environment they're working in, their office is secure, both digitally and physically as well. And we also see that how is that environment they're working in actually being utilized? I know that if we ran our organization with lights on all the time, our bills will go through the roof. And our reporting says when people, lights haven't been switched off, things haven't been shut down. It's the same thing that we should be looking at in digital realm as well. And also it's a space for interaction as well. Have we, our office space is a space where we can interact. I can go and interact with my team members, other team members. And I think that's a big part of the office space. Obviously, it's been a little bit stemmed because of the last year, but we're still getting into that virtually anyway. And I think if you set this mindset, something to take away is that when you're looking at set up an environment, physical environment, an office, you do need to build an office for your digital employees. So they do have that space to work. So you can put those tools that they need to run on there, provide the security that they need as well, the reporting, and also a space for interaction in there as well. And what's pretty cool about it is that, once it's actually established, it's a very neat element that also means that you can start rolling out automation super quick. On the left here, generally, if you're trying to set up an automation environment or for automation, you'd have a huge to-do list of things to do. Do all those things there on the left, a big list that it would actually keep scrolling and scrolling. But if you actually set up a proper office and set it up with this methodology or a mentality around saying, well, these are an environment for my digital employees, then your to-do list is pretty much done. You just need to manage a few accounts and the rest of your normal workload, but you've already got this environment for your automations to run, and you just start employing digital workers the way you would employ human workers. And what that means now, I know people want to say, what are all the things? What are the things that we have in our office for my digital employees? Well, we know it sits on a private or public cloud as well, like Azure. We want to run virtual desktops. They're their desktops. They need desktops to run. We have the apps obviously running, both SaaS and also company apps. They have VPNs so they can connect to the other offices if they need to, or other people. But the interesting thing is, this is where it slightly changes, where it's moved from a normal hosting type environment. We actually start looking at, let's apply some of the stuff we apply to humans into this environment as well, like user behavior analytics. These are real users. These are bots. Whilst they're ones and zeros, they're operating like real users. So let's put some analytics on there so we can see how they're performing. Are they doing the right things? And also, are they being susceptible? Are they doing things that they're not meant to be doing as well? Or have they found new ways of working? Provide digital security services like you would with a human. We want to protect them from malware, phishing attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks, and things like that as well. So we should treat them like humans because they are going to operate like humans, a lot faster, but also very much like us as well. Automation software, I think, is a given. They need to run some sort of automation on there as well. We also need processes and algorithms, but then also the really interesting thing is the reporting and analytics. Just like you would with a real office, we'd want to run some report and analytics on this environment so we can actually see how is this environment being used. Do we just need to switch my office on for 10 minutes a day because my digital workers are so efficient that they just need to turn on for 10 minutes a day? Do we scale down compute time and hosting environment 10 minutes a day and that's it? So save money rather than just have it running there. Are we getting the most of them? Have we overpopulated our office? Are we giving them enough space to operate? And also, have they got the right tools in there as well? And I think when you have this there, as we can actually get some other benefits, a lot more benefits as well. You can actually start seeing the behavior of your employees. You can automate some of the security responses as well, like never before. You can deploy faster than ever, which means you can grow and scale on demand. If I wanted to grow my physical office, I'd need to go find a new office, sign the lease, move furniture in, set up people. Digital office, if I want to set up a new office for my digital workers, I can click a switch and it's done as well. The other cool thing about this as well is that it will adapt to our ways of working. And similar to the way humans will adapt, we can bring humans in from different walks of life, different experiences. This environment can absorb that as well. And I'll show you an example of that in a moment. And what that means is that actually, once we have this environment, we've got our digital employees, we can actually have co-mingling of digital employees. In this example here, I've got 3 digital employees doing 3 very different tasks for my organization. Some of them are running on Microsoft's automation platform, Power Automate. We've got some around UiPath and automation anyway, but all these are co-mingling in one office. Now, traditionally, you'd have to make a choice. Well, what is my automation platform that I run? But with an office or like this, a virtual office for your virtual employees, treating them like humans, setting them up like humans means that you've got a lot more opportunity to co-mingle and work there, just like you would bring people from different walks of life into your organization. And as I said before, as this needed to grow, you can literally duplicate, uplift, and grow as needed. So you can have multiple employees doing different functions spread across different offices as well, or you can all merge them into one. But I think what we see is that this is establishing an actual workplace for digital workers is about setting up the environment, not just a server, not just a cloud environment or a piece of software. It is actually setting up, thinking of it as a workplace for digital workers. When we see this, and I know we're a bit of a stretch here because it is new, but we're seeing that when people do it this way, generally 100% successful adoption of automation, people accept it because they've accepted it as if they were a normal human employee. There's as much invested in it as a human employee. You want a longevity from this digital employee. You want the most out of it. You want to be progressive. You want to have an impact on business and customers. And we see that generally happen there as well. The rapid deployment and growth is like nothing ever seen before as well. Setting up the office where you can literally clone or uplift office space instantly is completely transformational as well. But the cool thing about that is because we actually have an office that people can come to, it's a lower total cost of ownership to build and run. What that means is rather than having to build a new environment, new platform each time, by duplicating and rolling out, it's actually quite simple and less expensive to run. And also you can start bringing all your automation and apps to run in these virtual offices, just like you would in a physical office. You get greater visibility than ever before, but also you get genuine end-to-end security. And what I mean by that is, I use that example of phishing, is that a bot or automation, it will do its job that it's told to do. It can't genuinely tell the difference between, I mean, to an extent it can, but most of the time it can't tell the difference between a real and fake email, you know, a phishing attempt and whatnot. It may go ahead to process some information and siphon a whole heap of money out of there. By putting in a virtual office that has the proper security like you would with your physical office, we actually enhance its security like never before as well. But the other cool thing is you get a rapid return on investment. Once you have a virtual office, you can start deploying these automations super quick from across the globe. But also because it is an office that grows and treated like humans, it really is future ready. And the other cool thing as a byproduct, you would see, like we see genuinely a 50% increase in positive staff interaction because people start treating these people as digital workers. They create an attachment or a relationship with them. They genuinely start with a genuine increase in positive interactions with the staff as well, which is fantastic. So funnily enough, we've seen this in the market, and here's the plug here. We've actually built a platform or a virtual office for organizations and agencies like yourselves. We've built it on the Azure stack, and we've got a whole heap of elements that I showed you before that actually is a ready-to-go virtual office for your digital employees. We just need to do the interview process and work out with automation or digital workers you want to throw them on there, where they come from as well. We are running out of time, so I'm going to kind of rapidly go through this so I can do some Q&A. If you want to have a look at it, the platform that we've built around a virtual office for your digital employees, digital workers as well, you can actually find it on Microsoft's Azure Marketplace. Have a look on there. But we'd love to have a chat with you about that in more detail as well. But I think what I'll quickly do is I'd like to bring Joe and Colin on now. I know we are very pressed for time, and there's my technical issues at the start, which wasn't automation related. But I think what I'd like to do is just, Joe, thanks for joining us.
No worries.
Colin, I know you've got super limited time. So what I'd love to hear from you is, I think it's quite clear that automation's here to stay. It's finally, I think, at this tipping point where people can see a value in their organization. They can see a value for themselves, individuals, and their customers. But now, since the pandemic, it's really triggered that. Adding to that, this mindset of, well, if we move from thinking about software to digital work, true digital workers, and actually giving them a place to work, what do you think and what do you see as this being the future of automation potentially for people you engage with, Colin and Joe, even our organization itself? Colin, I might start with you because I know you've got to run in a moment.
Yeah, thank you. And look, I've got a few minutes at the end of the hour. I'll move things around. But look, I think, you quoted a quote earlier around, the rate of change of digital transformation. And, from a Microsoft perspective, we've seen, 3 years worth of change in 6 months. And the automation has been around being able to move our resources where our businesses need our resources to be moved to. I know there's a question in the chat around equating automation to staff redundancies or staff movement and so forth. And what we've seen from a Microsoft perspective is that what automation is doing is enabling us to release the skills that we have in our organisation to higher value capability and activity. So we talk about knowledge and we talk about skills a lot, and they're very different things. So knowledge is really learnt experiences. So whether you've done a university degree, a TAFE degree, etc., that's the knowledge you accumulate. The skills you have are contextual. So they're in the context of what your business does, how you deliver whatever that business service may be. And by utilising and unlocking those skills and taking those more automated tasks away, what we're able to do is we're really able to bring the best of our skills to our customers and to our business. So, some of the things that Barrett, you've talked about around, what we do with our low code, no code product set in the Automate Power BI space. It's allowing people to automate the things that take time and let them focus on the things that add value and add real personalized and enhanced value to the process they do. I think the other area that we're getting is we can't keep up and we can't consume the amount of information and knowledge that's within our market, within our business, and so forth. We try, we can't read enough, we can't learn enough, we can't keep up enough. So what automation is enabling us to do is really have a look at where our business operate, building trends and directions out of that, and taking that information and using that to enhance our employee experience, our customer experience, our partner experience, and just that idea of onboarding. And we're in an incredibly competitive world now. The demand on skills is so difficult. So that experience of being in an organization, joining an organization, getting, embedded and engaged in your organization more quickly really is where some of our competitive advantage comes. People have choice now, and an environment that is more than just the salary they earn, their experience, their systems, the tools, how easy it is to do their job and feel like they're able to make a meaningful impact to the role that they have. That's, I think, where the benefit is. And a lot of this concern around, staff losses because of automation, I think is founded on an older outsourcing type view of the world where we take a task, give it to somebody else and you don't get it anymore. We're not outsourcing to automation, we're enhancing with automation. And that to me is where the real difference is.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty exciting. I think this mindset is fantastic, and it is genuinely transformational the way it operates. And Joe, I know you are a big fan of automation, not because of its ability, because of the way it writes, but because I think it's because of its ability to help people be better at being people, right? I mean, I know in our organization we've got a lot of streams of automation running. You've got a lot of engagement with our clients as well, which I think it's quite rare to have our COO engage with our clients, but it's great for them. What are you seeing, and what's the most exciting thing for you as far as the future of automation with this whole methodology and setting up virtual office spaces in a way for these digital workers?
Yeah, look, I think sort of it's a similar tone to what Colin was saying and what you've explained throughout the webinar. It's really that the tasks that we talk a lot about, these low value tasks, and it's not that, and I think it's really important to note that these tasks are not unimportant. They're really important and they have to be done. It's just that it's better if digital employees are performing those tasks so that we're releasing humans to be able to do the more important things. And I think that's a really important point that people have to focus on. And, there was a question in the Q&A about that perception that it's making people redundant. It's not. It really is. We have, people that are, overworked and are performing these low value tasks. They're repetitive every day and they don't have the time to look at the more strategic things, and also don't have the time to be sitting in front of our customers to making sure that their needs are being met. So by automating those lower value tasks, we're now lifting our people up to be able to focus on being in front of our customers more. And certainly in terms of our customers, if we're helping them have these sorts of adoptions and use this sort of transformation, they are now able to be in front of their customers more. It also has a really big impact on staff morale. I know we've had a fair bit of automation adoption across our organisation, and now rather than our employees having to go and dig around our systems and find information about how we're performing with our customers, that kind of stuff is just emailed directly to their inbox. They've got a report sitting there, and then they can go and act on it immediately. And something that we've adopted here is this automation first mindset. So we can be having conversations about how we're going to solve a particular problem, and straight off the bat, the team are going now, oh, well, could we just build, a digital employee to do that? Can Eve do that? So Eve is our resident digital employee. You would have seen her all over LinkedIn. And, how can we get Eve to do that? Eve's running up to 30 tasks at the moment and is sitting at around 10% utilization. We can certainly, that those sorts of tasks, if you had them being done by a human, that's more than a full-time job across our organization, and doing in lots of different areas. So you can really see quickly the impact this sort of thing has. And certainly something that was mentioned earlier, that these sorts of transformations, those organizations that pivoted and adapted to this the fastest are having the most success and are being able to stay relevant more than ever before. And not to mention, the other great thing is that we're now creating jobs for the future. Everyone's talking about the future of work, and what does that mean? What are the kinds of jobs? We don't even know the types of jobs that are going to exist in the future, but we can already start to see that there are these jobs. We need, managers for these digital employees. We need someone to be out there looking after them, redeploying them if they're now not being effective in one part of our business. Let's redeploy them somewhere else. And they're the sorts of skills and jobs that we will see coming in the next 3 to 5 years to really sort of transform the way that we're working.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just on that, I'm mindful of time. I've got a few questions here. So thank you everyone for hanging with us for a moment. Just on that, I'm glad you brought up Eve, because Eve is actually one of the ones that runs within our organization. And to give an example of how, we treat these automations, is that she generally has a personality. People refer to Eve as a person. We generally check in to see what's Eve's done, how she's going. And funnily enough, in my team, I didn't know this until I was having to chat about some of the reports that came out, and I was asking how they got this information quickly, and Eve was actually doing it for them. I didn't even know they were running it. So my team had taken it on themselves to work with Joe's automation team to actually get Eve to do some tasks for them. All obviously sanctioned by the organization. It's fine, but I think that's part of where it's very similar to how we'd work in Reels. If I need help and I know someone can help me, I'll go and do that. And they're still doing that with this automation as well. I know Eve could help me do this, and they engage the automation team to help with that, which has been fantastic. And I mean, Eve's almost everywhere. I don't know if you can see in the background, she's actually running one of the robots here behind us at the moment. So we are over time, but I just want to quickly just run in. We have got a few questions. So just super quickly, we kind of covered some of these questions here. If we have digital office, hold on a second, we'll answer one of those. If we have a digital office for our bots, we'll be able to see how will we be able to see they are performing better than if they are by themselves. And I think I'll just answer this quite quickly. From our perspective, is that a digital office means that you get a holistic view. You can actually see what they're running in its entirety, rather than just the process, how they're compliant out of security, what tasks they're doing, how often they're operating, when they're being switched on or whatnot. So you actually get a better view, and you get a holistic view where you can compare them as well, which is pretty cool as well. And I think that ties into the other question that's come up here, is why do we need reporting on the bots? If they're designed right, they should just keep going. And yes, if they're designed right, they will just keep going. But I think if we're not reporting on them, we're not seeing an opportunity for improvement. A process isn't perfect ever. It's always, because people, environments, technology always change. And I think as things change, we need to be adapting. So if we see how well these bots are working, these automations are running, and these are treating them like a human, if we check in to make sure that they're still performing, then we can make sure it's working properly. Also, we can identify slow down as well. I think, Joe, I'll throw this one over to you. Is Mate out now? And if I get Mate, what else do I need for automation?
Okay, yes, so Mate is out and it's available. You would have seen earlier, Barrett was talking about, it's available out on the marketplace as well. The only thing that needs to go with Mate is we can help our customers select the automation tool that they want to use with Mate, and we can provide recommendations on which one's the best one that will work for them. And that's really it. Everything else can be managed and via Mate. And that's why, we've found a real gap in the market here. We're just trying to make it really simple. People can just get up and running, get started, and off you go. And I will say something else is with our automation, you could see, and there's a great example that Barrett just uses, that the automation within our own organization now is just so seamless that often people don't even realize that it's happening in the background, and we've actually become quite reliant on it. And if we had to pull that out now, going back to those manual ways of working is just, would just be really difficult. And I think, once you get started on this journey, you will very quickly see that the value becomes exponential. It's not just this one process. Once you have a platform like Mate established and you're up and running, the more processes that you're automating and adding to that platform creates this exponential value, and it's just awesome, and it's really been great for us. Absolutely.
Now, Colin, I'll throw this one to you. This one's a bit of a curly one, maybe a political nightmare, a landmine, I should say. No, if we're treating them like people, should HR run this instead of IT? What's your thoughts on that?
It's a great question, bro. And we're using people as a metaphor for being able to land what an automation resource is within an organization. And the net reality is it might be IT that's bringing the skills and the knowledge to develop the actual automation, but it is very much embedded across all lines of business. And from a Microsoft perspective, a number of the employee self-services, for example, that we all take for granted today is all automated, and it is run and owned by our HR group. It's anything from inquiring on leave status and so forth through to much more genuine well-being type support that our employees might need. So when we look at automation from a Microsoft perspective, it's embedded across all parts of our business, whether it be in our finance group, our HR group, our customer service group, our product and development group, right through to how we run and operate our hyperscale cloud. Most of that infrastructure is automated. So we have people running and operating our cloud, obviously, but all of the tasks to keep that up and running, all our security components, all of our operating components, they're all done through automated processes, which allow us to maintain a level of consistency and reliability. And where it's an automated task, takes out some of that human error. So I treat automation as being a business resource, not necessarily someone who owns that from a particular part of the business. It's all about what are you automating and what is the business value of that automation.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. And I think you're spot on. I think that ties in with our theme here, is that we really is treat them like humans. Humans are valuable for every single part of the business. Let's approach them as one. The differentiator here is that IT are the ones who help build them up or technology enable them, but the business really needs to be involved with it holistically as well. All right, I think we'll stop the Q&A there. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Joe, for joining us today. I will just leave you all with just some high level takeaway points, just around what we're trying to cover here as well. So key takeaways. So see automation as an augmentation to your staff. It's not a replacement. Treat automation as digital workers, not software. That mindset, I think we've drummed that in quite a lot today as well. Create an environment open to automation opportunities. So that is, get the business, the people within the business open to automation. It's not a job replacement, it's a job uplift. Create an office for your digital workers and run it like a human office as well. Genuinely build, I believe in that, and I think that's why we've built the Mate platform to be a virtual office that people can literally move into as well. And hopefully today we've given you some answers, but we're giving you some more questions as well. And I think automation, and the exciting thing about automation is it is going to come up with a lot more questions. How do we approach it? And we should be asking more questions and engaging in more ways. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us, and I would love to have a chat with you. Grab a real coffee if we're allowed to, but have a chat with you around what automation can mean and how you can take advantage of it, whether it's just a small scale to start with or something where you really want to transform and enable your people as well. So on that note, thank you everyone for joining us today. I have got a reminder from our marketing team that your vouchers should be in your email at the conclusion of this. Apologies if there are any delays in getting those through to you, but you're paying too much attention to this to order an Uber anyway. So thank you so much. Grab that coffee, that brunch, or whatever it is that you see. I know we've got some people over there in the US. Grab some dinner, and please feel free to follow us on LinkedIn. Look at our websites. Follow us on all our social channels as well at Delve Social. Joe, Colin, thanks again.
Thank you.
Any parting words you'd like to say?
No, thank you very much. And thanks for the opportunity to join.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks.